Students, welcome to the virtual class of Indian Constitution. So we are discussing about the President of India, his appointment, term of office, qualifications, and other details. So let us continue today with the term of office. How many years the President of India will be in office? The President is elected for a term of 5 years. His term commences from the date on which he enters upon his office. The president may contest for the elections again. So, after the completion of the 5 years term, the same president is eligible for the second term. So, if he succeed in the election, but according to the Constitution of India, nobody should hold the office of the president for more than 2 terms. Our constitution says that no person should hold office as the president for more than 2 terms. So for second term he is eligible, but for third term he is not eligible. He cannot contest election. The president continues to hold office till the election of a new president gets completed. So in our country, only Dr. Rajendra Prasad, the first president of independent India, completed 2 terms as the president. So the remaining presidents uh, completed only 1 term as the presidents of India. So next, let us see how the president can be removed from his office. Method of removal of the president. The president can be removed from his office for violation of the constitution before the expiry of his term by impeachment. Such impeachment can be moved in either House of Parliament, Lok Sabha, by means of a resolution, 14 days notice in writing. So, duly signed by at least one fourth of the total membership of the House concerned is given. The charges must be investigated. The President has the right to be heard and defend himself during the investigation. He need not go to an advocate to argue in favor of him. So he has the right to defend himself during the investigation. If the charges are sustained by a resolution adopted by a 2/3 majority, the president can be removed from his office. So, this is the method for his removal. Then, presidential succession or vacancy. If the office of the president falls vacant due to the death of the incumbent or due to any cause other than the expiry of his term of office, so then the Vice President of India becomes the acting President of India. So, for any of the above reasons, if the office of the President is vacant, then Vice President can hold the office of the President for a temporary period. In case the office of the Vice President is also vacant at the time of the occurrence of a vacancy in the office of the president, so then the Chief Justice of India becomes the President of India. So, in case the Chief Justice of India is also not available to discharge the duties of the President, In his absence, the next senior most judge of the Supreme Court, next to the Chief Justice, can hold office of the President. So this is the provision of the Constitution in case the vacancy of the President falls vacant. So here one incident happened in 1969. Upon the death of Dr. Zakir Hussain in 1969, Mr. V.V. Giri, the then Vice President of India, became the acting president. Upon his resignation in the same year, the Chief Justice of India, Justice M. Hidayatullah, took over the charge as the acting president because the then Vice President V.V. Giri contested the election for the post of the president and became the president. Therefore, he resigned to the post of the acting president. So then the Chief Justice of India took over the charge of the acting president. So he held office till the installation of the newly elected president, Mr. V.V. Giri, in the fifth presidential election in 1969. Salary and allowances. So up to 2018, the salary of the president was rupees 1,50,000 per month, along with other allowances. But in February 2018, in the budget session, the government increased the salary of the president by 200%, and now the current salary of the president is 5 lakhs per month. The constitution forbids that his salary and other allowances should not be reduced his holding during his holding office. He gets other facilities decided by the parliament. So he also gets a resident free of rent at a Rashtrapati Bhavan. So you can see the building in the image. So which is the resident of the President of India. The President of India, once retired, gets a pension 50% of his current salary with a furnished rent free bungalow, and the spouse gets a secretarial assistance of rupees 30,000 per month. So, in one image, we can see the resident of the president, which is called by the name Rashtrapati Bhavan. Then, next image, so there we can see the president's secretariat, the officials working under the president of India. So, this is the secretariat of the president. After retirement, the president of India gets two free landline and a mobile phone, five personal staff, including a private secretary, an official car, and staff expense of rupees 60,000 per year, and he can also travel with a companion by rail or air for free. So these facilities are free for the retired president of India. So these are the presidents of India from 1947 to 2017. The first president of independent India, Dr. Rajendra Prasad. Then second, uh, Sarvepalli Radhakrishnan. Third, Dr. Zakir Hussain. Fourth, V.B. Giri. Fifth, Fakhruddin Ali Ahmad. then sixth Neelam Sanjeeva Reddy, then seventh Gyani Jail Singh, eighth R. Venkataraman, ninth Shankar Dayal Sharma, 10th K.R. Narayanan, 11th the famous scientist, so became the President of India, Dr. APJ Abdul Kalam. And after that, Pratibha Devi Singh Patil became the first women president of India. So after that, Pranab Mukherjee became who was the finance minister in Manmohan Singh's cabinet. So contested the election and succeeded and became the president of India. And now we have Ramnath Kovind as the president of India. Then powers and functions of the president of India. The president of India is the head of the state and the chief executive head of the Indian Union and supreme commander of the armed forces, and his powers can be classified as under legislative powers, executive powers, financial powers, judicial powers, military powers, emergency powers, and diplomatic powers. So, these are the seven categories of the powers of the president. So, first let us see what legislative powers are given to the President of India, so which are also called as law making powers. The legislative powers of the Union are with the Parliament. Article 79 states that the President is an indispensable part of the Indian Parliament. He is the head of the Parliament, and the most legislative powers of the President are, so we can see the Parliament building in the image where the lawmaking process will be held. So here the Parliament, which is having the legislative powers. So sometimes the President has some legislative powers. So let us see what are his legislative powers. First legislative power of the President is to summon the sessions of the Parliament, to dissolve the Lok Sabha or extend the term of the Parliament before the expiry of its full term of 5 years. So, this is the first legislative power. So, he can call the sessions of the Parliament. Sometimes he can also dissolve the Lok Sabha for some reasons. So, before the completion of its full term. As per Article 95, the sessions of the Parliament must be held at least twice a year. So, every year, two sessions are to be held. The President can dissolve it on the advice of the Prime Minister. So, whenever the Prime Minister advises the President to dissolve the Parliament, so he can dissolve it. On 21st August 1979, so the then President of India, Neelam Sanjeeva Reddy, dissolved the Parliament and notified a new election by exercising this power. So it is not obligatory on the part of the President to dissolve the Parliament only when the Prime Minister advises to do so. So he can take the alternative decisions to save the union government. The president may invite the opposition groups to form the government. But it is the provision of the constitution which says that Whenever the Prime Minister advises, the President can dissolve the Parliament. Second legislative power, the President has the power to address the first session of the newly elected Parliament and first session of the Parliament every year. So every year in the beginning of the year, the first session, in the first session, the President should address the members of the Parliament. Then, after the parliamentary elections, the party which forms the government should conduct a first session. So, in that first session, also, the President has to address the Parliament. But while addressing the Parliament, he has to read the speech himself. So, this is another rule. So, he has to read himself his speech in the session of the Parliament. So, this address is meant to shed light on the programs and policies of the government and issues of the national and international importance. So, you should cover these national and international issues and the policies of the government. But it is the cabinet which prepares this presidential address. So it is not the personal address of the president. This address also provides information about the new bills to be presented in the session. Third, legislative power of the president. So there are two provisions in the third legislative powers. First, the president can send messages to both Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha to take speedy actions on the long pending bills. Second, the President nominates 12 members to Rajya Sabha from the fields of arts, literature, science, or social service. Then, fourth legislative power of the President is he also nominates two members from Anglo Indian community to the Lok Sabha in case he feels that this community has not got adequate representation in the House. So, actor George Baker and Richard Hay are the present two nominated Anglo Indian members representing the Lok Sabha. And fifth legislative power is the bills which propose to bring about changes in frontiers of the state and their reorganization require the president's presidential recommendation. If any changes in the frontiers of the states or reorganization of the states, so that bill should get the president's assent. So then only the parliament can make changes in the frontiers of the states. So here is a list of the nominated members from various fields. 12 members who are presently representing the Rajya Sabha nominated by the President. So Raghunath Mahapatra representing the field of art, Sonal Mansingh representing the field of art, then Ram Shakal from the field of social work, then Rakesh Sinha from the field of literature, then Rupa Ganguly, uh, the Hindi film actress, so representing from the field of art, then Sambhaji Raje from the field of social work, then Suresh Gopi, who is a Malayalam film actor, so he is representing as the member of the Rajya Sabha from the field of art, Subramanian Swamy from the field of economics, Narendra Jadhav from the field of economics, Mary Kom, who is the women boxer of India representing the field of sports, and uh, Swapnan Dasgupta from the field of journalism, then KTS Tulsi from the field of law. So these are the 12 members representing Rajya Sabha nominated by the president. Then sixth uh, legislative power of the president is money bills can be introduced in the Lok Sabha only with the prior consent of the president. So, to money bills, the president's uh, approval is essential. So, they can be introduced in the Lok Sabha only with the prior permission of the president. Seventh legislative power of the president is he approves or disapproves all such state bills which the governor of the state reserves for his consent. So sometimes the state government can uh, introduce or send the state bills for the approval of the governor. So then the governor can reserve or send those bills to the consent of the president. So, eighth legislative power of the president is a bill passed by the parliament becomes a law only after it gets the signature of the president. So, only with the signature of the president only the bill passed in the parliament becomes a law. Then ninth legislative power of the president. When the parliament is not in session, the president can issue ordinances which have both the power and status of the laws. The parliament has to give its approval within 6 weeks of their issue, failing which they shall stand invalid. Tenth legislative power of president is in case of an unresolved deadlocks in respect of any bill or issue between the two houses of the parliament. So it means that sometimes the bill may get approval in the Lok Sabha and may fail to get approval in the Rajya Sabha. So, in such a situation, the difference arise between Rajya Sabha and Lok Sabha. So then the president can call a joint sitting session of the two houses to resolve the difference arised between Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha. So these are the two Anglo-Indian nominated members of the Lok Sabha who are nominated, George Baker and Richard Hay. So these people are representing the Rajya Sabha. Then executive powers of the president. All the executive powers of the union government are with the president. He is also the supreme commander of the defense forces of union. His executive powers can be discussed as under. The president is the head of the executive and of the administration. All executive powers are vested in him as per Article 53 of the Constitution. All executive actions of the Government of India are to be taken in the name of the President. So, by using his executive powers, President appoints the Prime Minister and other ministers. He makes rules for the most convenient transaction of the business of the government. He allocates portfolios to the ministers and can redistribute them. The ministers holds office during the pleasure of the president. So these appointments are made by the president by using his executive powers. And all major appointments are made by the president. The president appoints the senior officials of the union government and state governments. He appoints the prime minister and on his advice the other ministers of the union government. He appoints the chief justice of India, judges of the Supreme Court and high courts of the states. So the present uh, chief justice Ranjan Gogoi, uh, he and the president also appoints the governors of the states, lieutenant governors, and chief commissioners of the union territories. He appoints the Attorney General of India, Comptroller and Auditor General of India. So the present Comptroller and Auditor General of India is Raju Maharishi. We can see in the photo. The present Attorney General of India is K.K. Venugopal. So we can see the Platinum Jubilee building in our college campus. When you come to the college, you can see the name of K.K. Venugopal. So the auditorium of the Gupte uh, Karnataka Law Society is in his name. So why? Because he is the former, uh, the uh, the student of our law college, which is there in our college campus only. So he is the alumni of Raja Lakumagoda Law College. So his name is uh, given to this Platinum Jubilee Auditorium. And he appoints the chairman and members of the Union Public Service Commission. The present chairman of the UPS is Arvind Saxena. So we can see the images of these high government officials. He also appoints election commissioners and other statutory commissions and India's ambassadors. The present Chief Election Commission of India is Sunil Arora, and other Chief Election Commissioners are Om Prakash Rawat and Dr. Najim Jaidi. And the President also appoints Finance Commissioner of India, High Commissioners, Consuls, and envoys to other countries. So N.K. Singh is the present Finance Commissioner of India. So all the high level appointments are made by the President in accordance with the, the advice of the Prime Minister and Council of Ministers. Then financial powers of the President. The most important powers exercised by the President uh, in financial fields are: first, the President sees to it that budget proposals are prepared and presented before the Parliament on time. Is first financial power. Second, the financial bills cannot be introduced in the Parliament without the approval of the President. So, finance bill must get the approval of the President. Third financial power, the reports prepared by the Comptroller and Auditor General, Finance Commission, Chairman and members of the Union Public Service Commission are presented in the Parliament on his recommendations. From fourth executive power, from time to time, financial power, the President appoints a Finance Commission which makes recommendations for the distribution of revenues between the Union and the states. Fifth financial power, he controls the contingency fund of India. He has the power to order expenditure out of it for meeting an unforeseen expenditure. Powers of the President of India. The President has certain judicial powers. So they are: the President has powers to cancel, defer, reduce, and change the punishments given to the criminals by the Supreme Court. So if the criminals approach a request the President of India, so then the President can reduce their punishment period or change the nature of the punishments given to them. He also has powers to grant pardon to the criminals. He appoints the Chief Justice of India and judges of the Supreme Court and High Courts. The present Chief Justice of India is Ranjan Gogoi. Third judicial power of the President is, in order to provide the government the required legal assistance, he appoints the Attorney General of India. So he is the legal advisor to the government of India. So he is the person K.K. Venugopal, who is the present Attorney General of India, the former, uh, the uh, the student of our law college. Then fourth, uh, judicial power. When a constitutional crisis arise with respect to the subjects of public importance or proposed bills, he may seek the advice of the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court is bound to give such an advice. So this is according to Article 143. Fifth judicial power, the President enjoys legal immunity and is not accountable to any court of law for anything done in the exercise of his official duties. So during his holding office, if anything happens, so then he should not uh, be called in a court of law. So this immunity or exemption is granted to the President of India. So Uh, so I think this is enough for today. So I will conclude here. So let me continue in the next class the other powers and functions of the President of India. Thank you.